Hi, everybody. We're doing an extra Inside Scoop with Sue on Friday because we did Friday on Tuesday with Stephanie. So today I'm here with Paula Damm, who is a school nurse at Shaker Heights High School. And Paula, how long have you been a nurse there?
21 years.
So in 21 years, you've seen a lot, right?
I have seen a lot. I have lived with high school students. They are my life.
Yes. And you must still love them because you keep coming to school every day.
I do. It's a challenge, but it's an absolute honor.
Oh, that's so lovely.
I
That's
love
such
my
a
job.
That's lovely. So is there one thing that every year come first day of school, first month of school, you're always surprised, you're reminded like, oh, right.
Every year I'm reminded when I see these kids walk through the doors. We had this weird year this year, but I look at the kids and I'm like, oh, you can pick out the ninth graders because they look so young and like they're still in middle school. I mean, you have to realize that by the time they leave here, most kids are 17, 18. They really do grow up here, maturationally, turning into adults. So it's an amazing thing to watch, and it's great to participate in. Yeah, but when the first freshmen come in, they look very young. I'm
So
always surprised.
are there any that you look at and see, like, with boys, like the puberty can be so, you could have a 6 foot tall boy and a 4 foot something boy.
Mm-hmm.
Does your heart go out to any particular thing that you actually visually can see?
No, I mean, I think, I'm always attentive. I want people to respect each other. And I know that when there are big differences, people can make comments. And I want the kids to feel supported. It's a process that everybody's got to go through. And I remember back to those days, I wasn't a male, but I remember, just the insecurity and the lack of confidence I had as my body was changing and as I was having to relate to kids in a different way because of, they were boys and oh my goodness. And so, yeah, I mean,
So you look at it with compassion, like you
I
see
look
these
at,
kids.
yeah, I don't panic. I'm like, it's all a process. We just have to, high school is a process, life is a process, and it's just figuring out who your advocates are and how the best to get through the process.
How do you let the kids know that you're one of their advocates?
I have signage on my door that says this is a safe space. I mean, I realize that safe is sort of a catchphrase, but teachers know me very well because I've been here for so long, and they worry about any kids, and they refer them to me. So I think it's the relationships that I've built up in the school helps the kids to feel like they can come here.
So freshmen are coming into school. What do you anticipate and know from years past is the most common complaint you see in the beginning of the year? And maybe it's not even just all freshmen. Maybe you're just seeing that as the transition. What's the most common complaint you get in the beginning?
I think in the beginning, well, I don't see anybody for a couple of weeks. I mean, it's really quite quiet in my office for a couple of weeks until it sort of hits them that school has started, the excitement of the new backpack and the new this and the fear of being in the school is gone. But then the reality sets in, and that's when I start seeing headaches and stomach aches, not sleeping at night, a lot of somatic complaints. And truly most of what I see, a large percentage of what I see are somatic complaints based on stress responses to change and to new things and not knowing how to handle and needing some supports.
So somatic complaints are a physical complaint as a result of an emotional response to.
Correct. So I will see kids with headaches. I will see kids with stomach aches. I will see kids that are just tremendously fatigued and tired. And I say, so what do you think the cause of this is? And I said, do you feel overwhelmed? Is it just hard? Or do you have friends here? Whatever. And they're saying, all that they feel all of those things. Overwhelmed, stressed, the homework is different, where their locker is different. And and I'm always trying to hook people in with other people so that they can get more comfortable, and we can match kids up with other kids who can be kind and help them through the school, and other staff members. I mean, the staff
Wait,
here.
I love that. You match kids up with kids that you think, how does that happen?
I don't do that. That's a thing that we do
Uh-huh.
is if there's, especially with new kids who coming in mid-year, who are really lost. And English might not be their second language, and maybe they just moved here. And we often will the guidance counselors are wonderful and often match kids up so that they don't have to eat alone at lunch. That's the big fear. I don't want to go in the lunchroom because I can't eat alone.
I mean, I think that lives on in me. Even as an adult, I still feel that way. The terror of high school and planning, even college, like planning who you're going to meet up with. That's such a horrible thing to overcome, eating alone in the lunchroom.
Right. Well, everybody sees it. It's very visible.
Right.
You're like sitting there with your sandwich and you're isolated and alone in a room full of people. It's horrible.
Yeah, it is a bad setup, but one you have to endure. Okay, so when kids are coming to you, do you see part of your role as triage, or are most of them staying with you for whatever they come in?
I see a lot of myself as, a lot stay. It's both. I mean, I do a whole, if kids have medical things going on, diabetes, seizures, all that kind of stuff, I am their primary person who makes up the safety plans and who makes up the plans so the teachers know what's going on, and I do training and all those kinds of things. But the kids with more mental, stress-related issues, I do a lot of referrals out. Our guidance counselors are amazing at teaming with me. We also have welfare social worker that work here. We also
Welfare is a local social service.
Yes, and we have a school-based social worker. So we have a lot of supports, and we just need to know who needs it. And sometimes sometimes parents tell us, yeah.
So where do the parents fit in? If the kid comes into your office, where's confidentiality? Where's calling the parent?
If a student is at risk of hurting, this is my standard as a nurse. If a student is at risk of hurting themselves or someone else, then people have to be told. If a student has been abused or suspect of abuse, social services is notified. If kids are chatting with me and telling me things about home, I don't necessarily call home. I try to, not at that point, but if it's significant enough, I will ask them, maybe your mom or dad grandma should know this, and I'll be here. Is it okay if I talk to them about this? Do you want to tell them? Do you want me to tell them? Do you want me to be there with you while you tell them? So I try to get the message out, what parents need to know. I'm a parent, so I don't want to be kept in the dark, but I also have to make that decision on a daily basis as to what can be shared and what can't be shared.
Especially you want the kids to come to you. You don't want them to worry. And Lori says school nurses are the best. Such a stressful job, especially since March 2020, right? So Lori is one of our favorites because she always helps me segue to the next question. Thanks, Lori. The next question is, drum roll, where's your crystal ball? And do you have any guess on what this coming year is going to look like after COVID?
No. I think it's going to be some the same and some different. I think it's wonderful having this option of being online. I know that kids who struggle with, say you have a broken leg and you're in the hospital. I mean, how great would it be to be able to attend your same class on a computer. I mean, we didn't have that kind of thing before. We had other kinds of things before. But, you know, if a kid is just homesick because whatever, something minor, but they can't be in school, it would be really nice. I think it would be really nice if they could continue classes, but I don't make those decisions. So I think technology is going to be used differently. I think that there is a possibility that maybe we're going to be wearing more masks when kids are sick. I mean, I've always said to people, stay home if you're sick, and people are determined and bound to be here if they're sick or not. And because there is so much pressure on kids to do well in school. And so when you put illness into that mix, it's very difficult. And that puts a stress. And so it's like, get back to school, we got work to do, and you don't want to miss your work, and you got 3 AP classes, and it's like, you're allowed to be sick. You have to be sick. Your body needs to heal. So there's always that sort of back and forth.
Okay, I'm just going to share what Julie just said. She said, thank you, Paula, and all the compassionate teachers, nurses, and school staff for all you do to help students feel more comfortable every day. Kids have so much stress. Yeah. Thank you, Julie.
And we can mitigate that some. I mean, there are ways that we can make that a little better for people, which I have an opportunity, I would like to talk about.
About how to mitigate, please. Here's your opportunity.
So, I mean, I think that I see high school is an opportunity for kids to start doing the developmentally appropriate sort of growth, not just physical, but emotional. And the developmental phase is separation from parents. And I know parents hate that. I hate that thought of my child not being there, but it's developmentally appropriate. And if we stunt that, then it causes other problems. So it's sort of that keeping the conversations open, but understanding that your kids may not share stuff with you anymore, making sure that they have people accessible to them, that they do feel comfortable talking to them. I was the nurse here when I had high school kids, my personal kids. My personal kids did not want to talk to me because it was developmentally appropriate that they did not talk to their mother. I mean, I had a great relationship with them, but the hard stuff they talked to a friend of mine about, right? So who would come to me if there was a problem? So I think, it does sort of take a village to raise a teenager, and it's good to have those kinds of people. And it's hard not to take that personally as a parent, but I think we have to realize that that's the developmental stage that they're in. The trick for me is how do you try to maintain this open relationship with your kid without and how do you get them through high school without overwhelming them with stress? And I think the easy ways are, I think the Shaker offers an amazing array of classes, a ton of AP classes, a ton of opportunities, and sports and all those kinds of things. I think though that kids can get overbooked. And I know that when we talked yesterday, you said, well, what happens if my kid is doing really well? I said, because everything is a message. Every word that you say is a learning opportunity. So what happens if your kid forgets their lunch at home? You don't bring it. And I know you said yesterday, that's harsh. And I'm like, no, it's a learning opportunity. What happens if your kid, because first of all, they won't starve. We have food. They won't starve. They have food. And if they choose not to eat the cafeteria food, they choose not to eat the cafeteria food. That's their choice. But they won't be calling mom or dad again to bring them in lunch because they know that you've set that nice, easy line. It's not huge. It's easy. No, I can't do that. Or they forget their hockey sticks or their lacrosse sticks. And mom, can you bring it in? I see parents coming in and bringing stuff here all the time. One thing, we can't have parents in now that there's COVID. It's been very interesting because the kids are learning that they can't call their parent for everything to come and drop everything off for them. So what happens if they forget their stick? Well, they got to deal with their coach. And guess what? They don't forget their hockey stick anymore. So it's a lesson learned. And that's the part of sort of realizing that we do have choices. I'm not saying cut them off. I'm not saying, and you also asked, well, what happens if my kid's doing really well and I want to take a spa day or a day off for lunch or something? And, I presented that to an administrator here without mentioning your name. And he said, what are Saturdays and Sundays for? Monday through Friday is for school. That's their job. Saturdays and Sundays are for the special days to spend with their parents. And it's that sort of understanding that this is what they're supposed to be doing. And in doing that, you're supporting the school. You are saying to the kid, your job really right now is being in school and doing what you need to do. We can go out on the weekend. And if you can't go on the weekend because you have soccer and ballet and all that kind of stuff, you're overbooked, right?
Okay, I want to just interrupt and tell everybody that Paula did say she's a softie, and
I am.
And there is room for flexibility, but that the rules should be that you lay them out and the kids understand. And the biggest one you said was like, we don't tolerate drinking. Like, I think that is the biggest one, because we know studies show over and over again that when you say that to your kids, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I think these are conversations, of course, that you have prior to coming to school. You're in high school. And I've got stuff I have to do. And I tell you, the kids whose parents work, they don't ever forget anything because their parents can't bring them anything. It's the parents who don't work that bring all the stuff. And that's because their kids have not learned to be independent from them. So, so yes, these conversations happen before school starts. And you set up what your expectations are in a kind, open way. The other thing about alcohol is I think it's really important, and this should even go for middle school parents and maybe even younger. If your child needs a safety word, they need a word that they can use and call you on their phone or however, and just say a word so that you know that they need to be extracted from a situation that they're not comfortable with. So
we have a conversation going on in our Facebook group, which is called Working Hard to Raise Teens. And someone just raised that this morning. And it was, someone said, well, we have X. Like, if you text X to home, that means I'm in trouble and you should come. So the mom texts back saying, hey, I've got to come get you right now. There's an emergency at home.
Right. Or the other thing you can say to your host, if you're the kid, I feel like I'm going to puke. That's a great.
No parent wants that.
Nobody wants it. Right. And so they're like, oh, bye.
Oh, here's the other one.
I'm going to wait outside. So if I puke, I puke in the bushes. So, that really gets you out quickly. And then you can make contacts. It's really important to have to have that kind of safety release that the kids know, and that there won't be question. You don't need to deal with it that night. You just need to get them out and be safe. And then you can maybe revisit it.
One other suggestion that I loved was that the mom said, you tell your friends, my mother is crazy, and if I do this, she will kill me, and she will tell your parents. So, like, make yourself the fall person.
Absolutely. And but then realistically say to yourself as a parent that if this happens, I do need to talk to other parents. I have parents calling the school saying that this happened over the weekend and we want the school to deal with it. No. Parents need to deal with parents, and those are difficult conversations to have, but their house parties happen and parents aren't there, and I hear about them all the time. So you have to know who your kids' friends are. You have to know who their parents are. I mean, this is my suggestion, to make it, and you can be light about it. I mean, like I said, I really am a softie, but there are some things I can't abide by. And that is when the safety of my kid is at risk.
Yeah.
And the safety of the kids here are at risk. So I become very much of an advocate for the kids here, saying to the parents, think again. There's another answer to that question.
Okay, Softy Paula is how we're going to refer to you. Shannon has, I totally love Shannon's approach. I think it's kind of a good balance between me and you. I give them one time a year to bring a forgotten item. They can choose if it's an important book report or lunch, but after that one time, I can't do it.
There you go. And you've set it up, you know, and that's the important thing is that it's not, they're not blindsided by you saying, well, you know, I've decided today I'm not bringing you anything. And this is a conversation that you have with your kids so that they are not blindsided, and they can also maybe make some suggestions about the best way to do it. So involve them and know that there's going to be bumps, but and that's normal. Okay. And our bumps, we use us as a resource, use the school as a resource for helping you deal with the difficult times of raising teenagers.
Okay, I'm going to let Lori's be the last comment. The safety word is the best for today's youth. Also saying I am allergic works. Oh, that's a good one. That was my go-to when I was young and at work. That's excellent, Lori. Thanks so much.
Can I add one thing?
Oh, of course.
I really want, and I don't know if this is for kids at this point, at this age, at 9th grade age. It may be, but I would want the parents to preview it first. There is a wonderful YouTube video about consent that everybody needs to watch. And it is, if you go to YouTube and then put in consent and tea, drinking tea, you will see this video. There's a little bit of swearing at the beginning. I think they throw the F-bomb out, which doesn't bother me. And I think it's a really important thing for parents to hear, because I know when I heard it, I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then you can use it for your kid later when you're talking about consent, and they liken it to, I'll give you a synopsis. They liken it to being offered a cup of tea. A friend offers you a cup of tea. You say, sure, I'd like some tea. And then you get the tea and you're like, oh, I don't really like this kind, or it's too cold, so I don't think I'm going to have tea, and I gotta sort of run. And the guy says, no, you have to drink the tea. No, you don't have to drink the tea. But for tea makes it much less threatening. And there's like no guy pouring tea down your throat at the end of this, because we all know that that's wrong. Right? So it really talks about consent. So I would recommend anybody watching this that watch the video, and then maybe sometimes share it with your kid when you feel that they're ready for it before you start driving.
Paula Damm, you have so much to share with us. 21 years is a lot of watching, a lot of seeing.
I hated high school. I really did. I didn't do well. I wasn't college material. I made my teachers cry, and I failed classes. But I have done well, and I have, yes. So there you go, parents. You don't need to go to a top college. You can get really good at going to Bowling Green.
Well, there are many ways to end this, to do this path. Yep. Many journeys to take to get you to some destination. And we all know that I think COVID has been a gift in that we're all kind of reflecting on, does it all have to end with college? And does it have to end with college like after 12th grade? Or are there other alternatives? So
many.
Yes.
Open your mind to it.
And here is Paula Damm, a perfect example of the successful life without having had high school be the highlight of it. So thank you so much for being here with us and taking the time out of your very busy day. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Sue. Thanks.